Welcome back to our second half of the discussion about our causes for World War II. Today we're going to look at the assassination of, I think I sounded a little bit like Donald Trump there, assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. So assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. So let's jump right in. Remember that when we talk about where Austria, now Archduke Franz Ferdinand is the presumptive heir to the Austrian Empire. He is actually, we've spent plenty of time talking about the Habsburgs, and Franz Ferdinand is the last of the Habsburgs that is going to be able to claim the throne. One of the quirks about the Habsburg Empire and the Habsburgs in the past is that they consistently had to marry into a royal family. Franz Ferdinand's wife, Sophie, is not, while she is a noble, and she has a noble lineage, it's not of a high enough level of character and quality for her to, for their children to be the heirs to the empire after that. So, as a concession to Ferdinand actually marrying for love, which is what he does with Sophie, his father then says that he has to give up the right for his children ever to accept the crown, that they're not allowed to carry on the Habsburg name in the same way that other Habsburgs had in the past. So Franz Ferdinand is it. He's the last of our Habsburgs, so obviously this being the lecture on his assassination, we can say goodbye to the Habsburgs after this. During this time, Austria is in control of a border region between Serbia and Austria, and that would be where Bosnia is currently located. Now, Serbian nationalists for years want Austria completely out of this, and they've made numerous assassination attempts on governors of this region and various other political leaders leading up to this time period. So from 1905 through 1914, right? There's been attempts and various miscues where they've actually tried to assassinate various leaders and trying to further their cause, sort of terrorist organizations. The best known of this terrorist organization, or the most well known that we know obviously today, probably because they were successful in the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, is the Black Hand Gang. And they are at various points plotting the assassination of governors, and they finally decide that they're going to settle on assassinating Archduke Franz Ferdinand because they figure out a way to get an opportunity to do this. So Austrian troops are actually in Bosnia, and in Sarajevo in particular, right? And so on June 28th, which is a day of celebration for the Bosnians, and in that they are actually celebrating this moment in time with where in the 1300s they were fighting against the Ottoman Empire, and somebody had snuck into the Sultan's tent and actually assassinated him in this old war. So this is old celebration. So during this celebration, Franz Ferdinand is going to go down. He's going to inspect the troops down there, give a speech to the general public, and have a moment at City Hall with the mayor. He's going to do a few other things while he's in town. So he's going to make a bit of a propaganda move with this, and he's acting as a member of the military, obviously going down to inspect the troops. So our Black Hand Gang takes up the opportunity to work out a plot to assassinate Archduke Franz Ferdinand. And what they're going to do is throw a bomb on the motorcade. And they think that if they hit him with this bomb that's timed to go off, it's going to kill him. And through doing this, that this is going to disrupt sort of the continued rule of Austria-Hungary and potentially help to unify Serbia and those lands in Bosnia and create a one sort of Yugoslavian empire and increase their obviously their nationality and their holdings. So again, this goes back to nationalism, right? So on this parade route, they're going to, so they get there and they go in the morning. Archduke Franz Ferdinand visits the troops, sees the troops, then he's going to take this parade route down this street called the Apple Quay. And as he's going down this Apple Quay, then he's going to take that to City Hall, where he'll then give his speech, and then he'll be leaving and doing a few other things, right? On this parade route, they have 3 different people set up where they're actually going to be dropping bombs on the motorcade. And then they have one last person sort of set up, sort of a last line of defense, and that's Gavrila Princip. And Gavrila Princip is Largely, I think, probably the worst of all of the possible assassins. And so they're sort of putting him at the end, last resort, that if all else fails, at least he'll be there. So Archduke Franz Ferdinand gets into his big motorcade and they travel down the Applequay, and they actually go past the first person that's supposed to throw a bomb. He throws a bomb, and no, he does not throw a bomb. The first person chickens out, and is like, nah, it's not going to work. The second person is supposed to then throw a bomb, and he chickens out. He's like, yeah, it's not going to be the time. The third person chickens out, and conflicting reports. Some people say that the bomb actually gets thrown, and that Archduke Franz Ferdinand hits it with his arm as he's waving to the crowd. Others say that it just bounces off the side of the car, sort of where the top had been rolled back, and it bounces off, rolls back behind, and blows up and explodes behind the following car, the car that's following Archduke Franz Ferdinand. As soon as this occurs, the rest of the motorcade flies as fast as they can back to the city hall. And Archduke Franz Ferdinand, by all appearances, is clearly shaken. He's supposed to be giving a speech. He doesn't have the speech. The speech is actually the car that was blown up. That speech is eventually rushed to him. It still has blood on the speech from various, obviously, occupants of that vehicle. And he's talking to the mayor and saying, what in the heck is going on? He's a little bit disheveled, unsure of what to do. But he decides to give his speech anyway. He gives the speech, and then they decide, they make a plan. What are they going to do for the rest of this time period? Archduke Franz Ferdinand changes the plans that they were previously going to do, and what he wants to do now is go to the hospital directly, visit the people that were in the motorcade that were injured, and there's between 16 and 20 people that are actually injured by this bomb, and he wants to visit them in the hospital. They, as a group, collectively, decide that they are going to take an alternate route from the route they were previously going to take back to this to the hospital. And the route that they're going to take is, they have now cleared out that Applequay. They've cleared the entire street out. Obviously, once the bomb exploded, a heightened sense of security, they cleared everything out. Instead of taking a turn off of the Applequay, they're going to take and just drive right down the Applequay because it's been cleared. They forget to tell one key individual of this change in plans. They forget to tell the driver that they've changed the plans. So everybody in that motorcade knows that they're supposed to make this change, except the driver. So the driver, thinking that they're going the old route, ends up taking a right-hand turn onto an alternative street, and they start yelling at this driver to stop, that they need to go back and get on the Applequay. It's the safer route. Well, unbeknownst to the driver and unbeknownst to everybody else, is that the person that was the last person in line of defense is Gavrilo Princip. As soon as the bomb explodes, the motorcade goes flying by and they do the speech. He's kind of lost. He doesn't know what to do, so he ends up going to a coffee shop. And he's sitting outside of this cafe, drinking a cup of coffee, trying to figure out, well, what do I do next? I have no idea what to do next. And there's really no plan for what he should be doing. They were supposed to be taking cyanide pills if it didn't work out. And in fact, the guy that threw the bomb does take a cyanide pill, but it's old, and all it does is make him throw up. He jumps into the river, but the river's really at a low point, so they just fish him out and they beat the crap out of him and send him off to jail. He knows that he's eventually probably going to get caught, but is kind of at a loss. Well, he looks up from having his cup of coffee, and the driver had pulled Archduke Franz Ferdinand up to the exact location that he is at, sitting there having a cup of tea. And at that exact moment is where the rest of the people tell the driver, no, we need to go in a different direction. So this driver then stops the car in a perfect position for Gavrilo Princip to stand up and take 1, 2, 3 shots into Sophie and Archduke Franz Ferdinand, killing them both. So the results of this are that instantly Austria is rather obviously upset with Serbia. They believe that Serbia has known about this attempt to happen. In fact, there are conflicting reports that Serbia actually sent a warning out to Austria saying, don't send Archduke Franz Ferdinand down here, something might happen. There are plots against him. They want to hold Serbia 100% responsible for this. They think that the Serbian government was directly involved in this. And so they issue a list of demands to Serbia. One being that they need to end all negative propaganda about Austria, including what they're teaching in the schools, including written in newspapers, anything else. That all negative, anything that's being published that's negative about Austria has to stop now, instantly. They also want to arrest anyone that had been giving negative propaganda in the past. And then they hand them a list of, and here's who we want you to arrest. So we want to end all negative propaganda, and here's the people that have been doing negative propaganda, we want them arrested. Here's the list of people, right? And they also want them rooting these people out. They also want an investigation. They want to find all the members of the potential or the assassination plot. They want them investigated, and they want them brought to justice. And they also want to make sure that any kind of organization within Serbia that has ever been involved in any of these types of plots or have created any kind of espionage type activities against Austria, that those be eliminated and disbanded. And the last thing is that they also want to send in their own investigators so that they're the ones doing the investigation on the plots and who is going to be involved and everything else. Now, Serbia is willing to negotiate on all of those items. And various historians agree or disagree. Some say that they kind of acquiesce to all of those demands. Others say they are willing to acquiesce to every demand, all except one. And the one demand that they are not willing to do is allow for Austrian investigators into their country, because that takes over their own sovereignty and their own nation, and they won't allow that to happen. So then Austria goes back to Germany, makes sure that they have the support of Germany, and then they eventually declare war on Serbia. And here's where our alliance structure, for better or worse, or probably for worse, Rob, right, is going to come into play, because as soon as Austria is going to declare war on Serbia, Russia's going to declare war on Austria, Germany is going to declare war on Russia, and then they will do a preemptive declaration of war on France, and which point Great Britain is going to declare war on Germany, and the alliance structure then creates a scenario where all of these nations are now at war, creating World War I. I hope this lecture helps you out a little bit in understanding the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand and a little bit more into the causes of World War I. We'll come back at you again here with some of the lectures on what happens during World War I next.